how Raheem Sterling will fit in at Chelsea. First and foremost, tactically, Tuchel, of course, playing the 3-4-3. Sterling could simply fit into that inside left position. But alternatively, Sterling as well has got an experience playing on the right-hand side and through the middle as a false nine. Thomas Tuchel signing Raheem Sterling will give him a lot of options in an attacking sense. Chelsea last season in the Premier League finished in third place, pipping Tottenham to that position by 3 points. One of the big things that separated Chelsea from Man City and Liverpool was goals, and bringing in one of the best goal scorers we've seen in recent Premier League years from the wide areas in Sterling, for me, is cracking business. So when we look at Raheem Sterling's career at Manchester City, it's been a very, very good signing. Sterling's been directly involved in more goals under Pep Guardiola than any Manchester City player. Directly involved in 186 goals, 120 goals and 66 assists. Meanwhile, looking at Guardiola's spell as a manager overall, only Lionel Messi has been directly involved in more goals for Guardiola than England international Raheem Sterling. I think is a quality bit of business. Last season in the Premier League, Sterling started 23 games, scored 13 goals and got 5 assists. It was a bit of a weird sort of season for Sterling. Had a bit of, quite a good start to the season, then a bit of a wobble in the middle of the season, then back in the sort of back end of the season. January really kicked on some form, and then in February as well, had a fantastic game against Sporting Lisbon in the Champions League, grabbed himself a goal and an assist. The big thing with Sterling and what I feel he'll bring to Chelsea, of course, is goals. When we're looking at his overall statistics, is in the 99th percentile of players in Europe's top 5 leagues. That is the top 1% of players for XG and non-penalty XG. For me, one of Sterling's biggest traits is getting into the box and getting those chances. His movement off the ball is fantastic. The way he penetrates the line in behind, but also moving when the ball's on the other flank, is one of the best in the world at doing this. Also looking at touches in the penalty area, Sterling averages 8.59 per game, which puts him in the top 2% of players. For goals scored, he's in the top 5%, and for progressive passes received, also in the top 5% of players. Also decent in the top 10% of players for final third tackles, showing that pressing intent, but also carries into the penalty area. This game, of course, against Sporting Lisbon, a decent example of Sterling's carries and dribbles. He completed 4 out of 5 in this game, and as you can see by his heat map, all of them coming in the opponent's half. And I feel like with Sterling, you're going to get a real quality in front of goal that maybe Chelsea don't have right now. Comfortable playing wide left, comfortable at playing quite wide right as well, but will bring quality into the side. When looking at Chelsea, one of the concerns that I have when thinking about them from a sort of goal scoring perspective is their ability to put the ball in the back of the net. Right, so let's compare Sterling with the current Chelsea players in the forward line. Of course, Romelu Lukaku is back in Milan with Internazionale. He won't be there next season, so he is not in this little bit of data. But I think the first thing when we're comparing Sterling's season, last season, to Pulisic, Timo Werner and Kai Havertz, for me, the big thing that stands out is the amount of XG that he's amassing. Yes, Manchester City are a slightly more dominating side in an attacking sense than Chelsea, but I think you've got to give someone like Sterling a lot of credit for amassing an XG of 14.4. When we're taking a look at the players that we're comparing to, Kai Havertz, Timo Werner and Pulisic, of course, Raheem Sterling is number 1 on that metric. One of the big things with Sterling, that sometimes he can be a frustrating finisher. When looking at that XG number, he's underperformed that by 1 this season, racking up 13 Premier League goals. But if you're taking a look at Werner, we know that he's had a pretty torrid time in front of goal at Chelsea. It was minus 5.9 in his first season at Chelsea, second season minus 3.6. Werner surely at some point is going to score 20 goals in a Premier League season. And of course, Kai Havertz underperforming. Interestingly, in the sample, actually Christian Pulisic is the only overperforming Chelsea player last season in terms of expected goals and goals scored. An interesting one considering his real lack of minutes last season, only amassing 1,290 minutes in the Premier League. But diving further into the statistics, there's a number of metrics that I've been looking at to kind of distinguish whether Sterling is an upgrade, whether he's a signing that's a pretty similar level to the Chelsea forwards, or he's going to be a flop. Looking a bit further into the statistics, not only does Raheem Sterling convert chances at a higher rate, but he converts bigger chances at a higher rate as well, at 42% in the Premier League last season. If we rank the three players plus Sterling per 90 in the Premier League, Sterling comes first for chances, big chances created, dribbles completed, goals per 90, assists per 90 in the Premier League, which I think is a big thing for Chelsea. They need to convert more chances to get closer to Liverpool and Manchester City. But let's move back to the tactics. Where's Sterling going to fit in? Where do I think he'll adapt, and where do I think he will play? Well, first and foremost, I think Kai Havertz has kind of locked down that number 9 position for Chelsea. I think what he brings Thomas Tuchel's side is that ability to receive passes into feet, to drift wide, to drift off the line, to allow that real fluidity in an attacking sense. I think when looking at it in terms of Chelsea's best front three, it would be Havertz, Mason Mount and Sterling. Of course, Mason Mount's made this kind of inside right position his own last season, finishing with 10 plus goals and assists in a Premier League season, the youngest ever for a Chelsea midfielder, which I think is massive credit to his development and evolution as a footballer. He's kind of the playmaker within the front, front three players. He will drift in, he will drop in, he'll get on the ball, but also stay high. And he's built a fantastic relationship with Reece James on the outside, which leads me to think that Sterling will play as an inside forward on the left-hand side for Chelsea. We saw how well Ben Chilwell got into the penalty area and finished off moves, in his brief spell when he was not injured last season, really well from the left-hand side. And that's what I feel Sterling's going to bring to the side, a goal-scoring winger that's going to drive from the outside, drive into the inside, but also get into the penalty area when the ball is on the right-hand side of the pitch. In a sense, if you break down Chelsea's sort of lineup and how that sort of front five operates, if we put it into the front five with Chilwell on the left-hand side, James on the right-hand side, the right-hand side of the pitch is arguably the creative side of the pitch. Reece James, fantastic at whipping the ball into the box. His chances created per 90, expected assists per 90 for some of the best fullbacks in the league. Mason Mount as well, creating more chances than any Chelsea player in the last 3 seasons combined. But you'd say that left-hand side may be more of a goal-scoring side. We know how Chilwell likes to arrive, but also can deliver into the box, and Sterling can get alongside Kai Havertz. It's a classic sort of modern-day movement that we've seen from Liverpool year after year after year, with a Roberto Firmino dropping off the line and a Mohamed Salah or a Sadio Mane making that opposite movement. I feel that Raheem Sterling really will give this Chelsea team something else. But also you can move the attack around. If Thomas Tuchel wants to change things at half-time or adapt the shape, Sterling can do a really good job playing as a winger on the right. We've seen him do that for Manchester City. Of course, famously, 19 goals in the Premier League one season from the right-hand side, allowing Reece James to play a little bit more inverted. We know how Reece James likes to attack that space inside, so the natural width of Sterling will open up that space. It could allow Mason Mount to play maybe more as a goal-scoring number 10 operating behind Kai Havertz, and Kai Havertz maybe more of a traditional striker. Again, I think that's a really good option for Chelsea, throwing Sterling to the right-hand side, getting him to play more as a traditional winger to stretch teams horizontally. At times, you can kind of expect what Chelsea are going to do in the Premier League. They're quite easy maybe to play against, but I think Sterling gives a little bit of adaptability in, that frequency of movement and spinning in behind, but also keeping that natural width, which will allow Reece James to move into the inside channel. We saw how Trent Alexander-Arnold really dominated the inside position, playing inverted at times for Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool, and I think we could see the same thing with Sterling, Reece James and Thomas Tuchel for Chelsea. I think a big thing for Chelsea this season, a big problem to solve, is how to get the best out of Kai Havertz. We know his quality, we know the goal he scored that won Chelsea the European Cup, but I think the big thing we need him to do more for Chelsea is put the ball into the back of the net. He's not hit the same heights as he did at Leverkusen. His seasons at Leverkusen, 17 goals, 14 goals in the Bundesliga. He needs to evolve his game in the Premier League to hit those types of numbers. Of course, the burden will be taken off him a little bit with Sterling joining the football club, but at the same time, the relationships need to be built. Looking back at the numbers in the 18-19 Bundesliga season and 19-20 Bundesliga season, it's quite interesting to see who assisted Kai Havertz. In the 18-19 season, it was Kevin Volland, a centre-forward, and Julian Brandt, a central midfielder. And in a 19-20 season, it was Moussa Diaby who actually played on the left wing. And I think the creativity at the moment for Kai Havertz and for Chelsea is very much coming through Mason Mount and then maybe Reece James playing that final pass. Reece James assisted Kai Havertz 3 times in the Premier League last season, the highest assister to goal scorer combination for Chelsea. But having that sort of threat from the left, maybe. We know like Sterling likes to kind of, receive a little bit wider, play that bounce pass inside, then look for the reverse, and then potentially look for the cutback. I think Sterling could add something to the attack. It's adding that kind of Kevin Volan or Moussa Diaby level of creativity to give Chelsea something else in the final third. We've spoke about Sterling in the attacking unit in the 3-4-3, but could Thomas Tuchel be actually moving to a 4-3-3 to facilitate getting someone like Sterling into the side and having that attacking balance? Chelsea could easily switch that system. You're thinking, bringing in someone like Conor Gallagher into a midfield unit, maybe Kovacic dropping as the DM, and Chelsea looking more 4-3-3 with Mount wide right, Sterling wide left, or alternatively we could see Mason Mount play in midfield and someone like Christian Pulisic on one of the flanks. Of course, Thomas Tuchel has played this system previously with Borussia Dortmund, with PSG, with a half-back dropping in between the centre-backs, allowing the wing-backs or full-backs to join the final third, the front three narrowing and having that classic kind of 3-4-3 shape in possession. That could be an option. I think Sterling's goal threat will allow Thomas Tuchel to do that now at Chelsea. So just to, kind of like wrap up the data, Sterling's had some very, very good seasons at Manchester City, but the last few he's not played as many minutes as the seasons previous. You probably go back to the 1920 season where Sterling scored 20 goals in the Premier League to get kind of the last big season. As you can see by the heat map, a lot of games played on the left wing, but very active in the penalty area, which I think will give Chelsea massive amounts of quality going forward. Not only that, though, Sterling, in fact, has won more penalties with 23 than any other player in Premier League history. But also, if we look at the goal-scoring stats for Chelsea, only Mason Mount and Kai Havertz scored more Premier League goals under Thomas Tuchel than Jorginho from the penalty spot, which I think with Sterling, that added ability to dribble defenders with VAR, I think that could be a recipe for big success for Thomas Tuchel's side and could fire them in to title contention. Sterling, Havertz, Mason Mount, that is a top quality front three. Guys, if you're new around here, hit that subscribe button, like that goddamn video, and get in the comments below who do you want to see us check out next. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.